Since I was here last week. I was telling John, the technician here at the studio, every time I come in the studio, something has changed. And today, I'm looking at this monitor over here, and it's amazing. The monitor used to be over here on the. I had to turn. I leave out the studio with crooked my neck. I turn around and see it on the screen up there. Now we got a monitor right here in the booth, and that's something new. And I was asking John when they put this in, and he said this is the first program that we've handed in the area of the show and inside the booth. And I'm glad to be able to start it off. I'm sure everybody that comes in and do that program will be impressed with it. I'm certainly impressed with it. I didn't even expect this. John didn't warn me before I got here that they had changed so much in the studio since I was here last week.
Yeah, that was pretty much largely initiated by Steve Myers himself, and he brought out and got that and put that in when I was, he comes and goes too from the studio when I'm not here, and he installed it and he sent me a picture of it. And that's actually, this is the first time was the first time I actually came over to the studio, and it was already set up, and it looks really it's so easy to figure out.
I mean,
no problems with it.
When did Steve put it in?
Just a day or two ago. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's really, I think it's going to be a game changer for us. So
yeah. That is this. I was really impressed with that. I had to tell John that they never cease to amaze me in the studio because I'm not a tech guy, and my expertise is in a whole different area. I'm not even remotely involved in tech, and I'm just glad that we have people here at the studio that understand what they're doing, because without them, we can't even do the program. I don't know how to set up any of these. There's a lot of stuff in here that's set up in the studio. Have wires everywhere and cameras everywhere, and it's just amazing. I came here today, I couldn't believe it. Anyway, we're back again here. You won't believe we're here on Labor Day, but it's rain, shine, sleet, or snow. We're going to be here, and we are here today, and hope you have a very nice Labor Day. This is my last day to barbecue. I'll be outside later on this afternoon, and I'm going to get the grill ready and going to barbecue some things and have hopefully a nice, quiet Labor Day. I don't want to tell my friends that I'm cooking. I'm going to be doing some barbecue because they'll all come over and want everything. I want to tell you before we come over, I only have enough barbecue with one family.
I was going to say no, but you just got hundreds of people watching you, so no, they're fully aware, but most of them probably don't know where you live. So
yeah, right. That way. And I'm not telling them either. Okay, we're here again, and we're glad that you're here. I want to tie up a few things that we went over last week, and I want to tidy up a couple of points. And I brought the Constitution this time so I can read it and give it to you verbatim, because a lot of things we're doing, and I just think we have to go back and see how much of what we're doing can be grounded in the rule of law. And it just doesn't seem like we understand that we have a constitution in this country, and there are certain things that the Constitution prohibits the country from doing because the framers put in place a structure that was to be followed in perpetuity until it's in fact amended. And we'll be very careful in what is amended, because we have to amend it within the grounding points laid out in the Constitution, in the original Constitution of the United States. You just can't go in there and start doing helter-skelter kind of stuff and start amending everything. Everything that you write in the Constitution, you can write as an amendment to the Constitution. It has to be within the purview of the Constitution itself. You can't go in. In other words, you cannot. Here's the contention. You scholars go along with this or not. You cannot amend the Constitution so that it cease being the document that was created by the framers. Is that fair to say? Is that fair to say that you cannot amend a document so that the amendment of it alters the purpose of the document? I think I can say that without being too controversial. But the people act like from what the document is done, they act like you can amend the document so as to cancel a document. I don't know of any amendment that's intended to, in fact, amend the document that's added to it so that it stops being that which was the document before the amendments were added. How do you do that? I'm contending you can't do it legitimately. Now, you could do it through what they're doing, this through force, because a lot of this stuff is about force. It's what Ashley Hastings said. The law is what we say it is. That's a very dangerous statement. The law is what we say it is. Anyway, last week I said that all of this coming into the country is breaking in. We have this. This is a. I heard one guy say this yesterday, and I hadn't thought of it in these terms. This is a military invasion of the United States. Granted that they're not coming across our borders with machine guns, but that does not mean that it's not a military invasion because they didn't bring necessarily weapons across the border with them. But what I'm talking about here is what this guy was talking about yesterday on one of the network programs, and that is that people are coming here that are military age. We have soldiers coming in here. And it would be crazy to come in here decked out in uniforms. They're coming here, but they're coming in here of fighting age. And so when you have people coming in here of fighting age and have no allegiance to the country, this is a military invasion. Because nobody has been vetted, and they're not pledging an allegiance to the United States. Nobody's been vetted. We don't even know who's in the country. And these estimates are just feel-good kind of numbers. Because if we really understand how many persons are here that shouldn't be in this country, it would be very alarming. They're willing to admit to upwards of 20 million. But I think you'd be very surprised with how many persons in this country that are here as, can we say this without anybody getting mad? Because you can't even use these words anymore. Illegal aliens. If you're not here as a resident through some kind of state certification, let's say, for example, if one person was saying that they're not invaded the country because they came here and then overstayed their visa. And so they say, well, we didn't break into the country because we came here by airplane, and once our visa expired, we just stayed here. Well, you broke into the country after you arrived. This is an after the event breaking into the country. If you don't have any authorization to be in this country, then you are an illegal alien in this country. And they are, and our leaders, these are some very poor leaders. They are saying that the people who have come into the country in these other kinds of ways, whether just crossing our borders without our permission or coming in here and overstaying their visa, if they're doing that, they're saying that they should be counted in our population as part of the representatives in our government. And our leaders are going along with that. Political leaders are going along with that. So what I thought I would do to start out the program is to read to you what the Constitution says, because you can't do that. Not by law, and the highest law is the Constitution of the United States. It does not allow that. And I thought I would read it to you, and I've let these scholars become aware of it as well, because they're not raising this question, because I don't think they understand this. You can't count. Here's what they want to do. They want to say that whoever's in these states that's a part of the apportionment of those states. And so then, since the electoral vote is based upon the apportionment in the states, because every state has two senators, so we count everybody. You'll have those two votes for sure, and every state has a representative, so we'll count that representative for sure. So all states will have a minimum of 3 electoral votes. But they're saying that in counting the electoral votes of the state beyond the point of the 2 senators and the 1 member of the House, everybody has to have at least 1 representative in the House of Representatives. They're saying beyond that, the 3 automatic electoral votes, they want to count the number of electoral votes that you have in the state based upon the apportionment of the states. And in that apportionment, we're going to count all of the ones, all the ones in the state, so that if people are here illegally, they're not saying eeny, meeny, miny, mo. They're saying count them all. And they're saying the Constitution allows for that. That the apportionment is everybody in the state is counted. If you're a citizen or not a citizen, we count them for the purposes of the apportionment and count the electoral votes of the states. And they're talking about doing that now. We got to reapportion based upon the citizens and also the non-citizens. And I don't hear any scholars out here, Constitution scholars, they claim, out here raising the question anywhere to say you can't do that. And I'm saying you can't do it. And I'm saying you can't do it because the Constitution says you can't do it. And it says it in 3 different areas of the Constitution. Let me start out with the most egregious violation. All 3, if you violate any part of the Constitution, is egregious violation. But in terms of the framers having laid out what they were talking about, they got more specific in the Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the Constitution, and also than they did in the preamble to the Constitution. But they were specific in both, but it's more general in the preamble. Should I say more general in the preamble? Well, it's specific there too, as to who they were talking about. But they laid it out in terms of the itemization of it in the what I call the apportionment clause. And that's in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. Let me read this to you. And you tell me where there's any wiggle room for them, for them to be talking about counting illegal people that are here illegally in the country. But if they're inside the states, the Constitution requires them to count them in terms of the apportionment so as determine the number of electors a state will have, and therefore the illegal aliens would be involved, even if it's indirect, in the choosing of the President of the United States. That's what they're contending. Now, is it absurd? Absolutely. But we have some absurd leaders. Let me read this to you. This I'll get back to this in just a minute. This book I brought to the studio. This is by a writer I'm getting in touch with. I haven't read any of his writing, but I was very impressed with this book that he put out called The Founder's Speech to a Nation in Crisis. What the founders would say to America today. It's written by Stephen Rabb. RABB. I suggest you get this book. It's not a very thick book. 140, I think 148 pages or so. The Founder's Speech to a Nation in Crisis. What the founders would say to America today. And I'm talking about them saying something beyond the question they would raise. Because the question is, are you kidding? That's the question. Are you kidding? With what they're claiming, somebody's kidding. And only goats kid. Now, in the enforcement clause, it says this. Representatives, and I leave out direct taxes. That's another discussion we need to have about that, because that's the violation we have in the 16th Amendment. But I'll leave that part out. I want to talk now about the enforcement issue, where they're talking about your electoral votes being determined by the number of people inside the states. We don't know how dangerous this is. We don't even know how dangerous it is to say that people come in here and drop a child inside the country. That child is born in the soil of the United States. We don't know how dangerous it is to make the claim that that person becomes an automatic citizen. I'm going to read something to you in the Constitution about that as well, because that's a violation of the Constitution too. See, I don't have to make these claims and then say, trust me on it. I'm going to bring the document and read it to you so you'll know that what I'm saying here can be found in the document. Which these scholars do not do that on TV. I don't even hear them refer to the language in the document. And I think I know why they don't do it. But let me read the apportionment part of the Constitution of how you're going to set up apportionment, because the framers did not leave that out of the document. They put it right there at the very beginning of the document, Article 1. That's how important they saw it. It's in the very first article of the Constitution of the United States. Representatives shall be, there's that shall again, shall be apportioned. Now, if it doesn't have in there what they're doing with these illegal migrants, these illegal immigrants coming in here, if it doesn't mention them, then they're excluded. Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within the union. Because they're saying here that the 13 states at this point, they never thought it would be the ending. There were too many territories out there that were undeveloped. You saw that in the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, undeveloped territories, out of which would be later on carved other states. 9 states carved out of the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. But they already had seen the potential of the country to enlarge itself, because there was too much territory that was undeveloped, particularly in the West. And there was this idea that people would go west and go to new frontiers and establish new